Want to know the best and worst places to find staffing? Tiffany has learned the hard way. Hey everyone, it's Isabel with the Assisted Living Network podcast, and today is an exciting day because we are joined by a very special guest. Meet Tiffany Duckett, owner of Serenity Gardens Seniors, an 8-bed care home in Denton, Texas. What began as a mission to care for her own father is now a passion for helping seniors thrive. Tiffany has mastered all things staffing from recruitment, training, and employee retention. And here she is. She's going to be sharing all of her staffing secrets with us here today. Let's dive in. In the United States right now, there are 76 million baby boomers. The number one dilemma for these baby boomers? Housing. That dilemma can be your opportunity. Welcome to the Assisted Living Network podcast, where you can discover how just one residential assisted living home could secure your financial future forever. Okay, well, I'm so excited. Welcome to the show, Tiffany. We are so excited to have you here. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.
I want to hear everything about your home, about staffing. I know that, that's kind of one of the strengths with your care home. So are you quite hands-on or more hands-off with your RAL?
I'm pretty much hands-on. So with staffing, I have my assistant kick it off like with a phone screening, and then we move to the next phase, which would be meeting with me over the phone. I have changed it over time because before I would let them screen with my assistant, then they come in, and I felt like that was just wasting my time because some people just weren't, valid, solid candidates. So then I started doing my own phone screening, and then I would bring them in.
Okay, so do you feel like this new system is really helping make sure that we're getting the right people in the right seats?
Yeah, it saves time, right? Because my assistant, she's doing a prelim, and then ultimately I'm making the decision. So, you get different kind of energy through the phone. It may be like short answers. And then, obviously if I see that in the notes, I want to see it for myself, right? So I don't want to bring you in, waste my time. My time is pretty much tight. So I bring them in. I have the phone call, and that's just to get energy, right? Because you're working with seniors, you have to have good energy. Like, this is something you have to want to do. So once I have that phone screening and I feel comfortable that, okay, this person could be solid, I actually move forward with the in-person.
What does your structure look like? Are you the administrator? Do you have an administrator? And then is there anyone else in between you and the caregivers?
So because I only have 8 beds, my structure is just pretty much myself, owner-operator, my house manager, and then my caregivers. And then I have an assistant which jumps in for a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Just med refills, taking care of things I can't get to. Also, that pre-screening I was referring to, and checking resumes. So I post on ZipRecruiter, which I think it flows through to like Indeed, et cetera, because it's through ADP. But basically, she's taking care of all of that. So it's pretty lean. I got to run it lean because it's 8 beds, right?
Yep. Yep. And your home is in Texas, Denton, Texas, right?
Yes. So that's a little north of Dallas, in the DFW area.
And it's a gorgeous home. So, many people when they get started in Texas, they're like 16, 16, 16, but your county or your city might say 8, it might say 6. Is that the situation you were in?
Definitely. I got lucky and got 8. Like, everyone around me has 6. They're licensed for 6.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how I got 8. Like, the guy from the state came out, he was like, I'm approving it you for 8. You have enough room for 8.
Okay, so it was like a square footage situation.
Yeah, but also the city was in the process of changing rules, etc. So it was just like at that time frame where it's like, okay, I got away with it, and moving forward, I don't think it's going to work out that way. It's probably just going to be 6.
Okay, so you're grandfathered in. So that's good.
Yes.
That's good. I want to hear about hiring because I know that is such a time-consuming thing that's happening in this business. So Have you ever made like a big hiring mistake, and how did you handle it?
I I do run into some issues sometimes where I'm like, should I have hired this person? Or honestly, there was one time a couple months ago I could not get to visually meet this person. I cannot remember the reason, but I just, I do a lot of working interviews. So that in-person interview turns into a working interview. So I was busy. I had to be somewhere else, and I was like, you know what? Let her do a working interview and then get feedback.
Yeah.
So she used to run an assisted living, so I felt like, okay, this is a strong candidate, etc. But she didn't fit the look for my home. So
Okay.
I didn't find out until after we were already in the training stage, and I was just like, uh-oh. And family, I let family dictate, obviously, they are driving the business, right? If they
Yes.
aren't happy with the caregivers, then I have to kind of like figure out what I need to do. So in that case, I got feedback immediately that family didn't feel comfortable. So, unfortunately, I had to let her go. But that's the thing. That's what makes me stay so hands-on, because I'm just nervous that, it's not going to be a fit. But all the time, you find somebody and they say, oh, I've used horror lifts. I've worked with 15 residents at a time. I had 40 at night, and I've been doing this 12 years. And then they may not have passed meds, and you have to pass meds in my home. And then maybe they can't cook, right? And then this is a small care home, so you have to make the meals. So it's like, yeah, you may have done all this stuff at a big nursing home, but then when it comes to our small care home, you wear so many hats, and they might not be for, all of that. So it gets tricky when you think you have like a really solid person, and then they start working, and it's like, well, they don't understand how to wear all these hats.
Yeah, that is such a good point, because a staff member in a Brookdale, a Sunrise, they're doing one thing. They're being the caregiver. But in a residential assisted living home, they are wearing so many hats. They're the cook, they're the
Yeah.
cleaner, they are also the caregiver. They're literally everything. And so if they're coming from that world, really explaining what this world looks like, it's similar, but it's very different. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I started. There was a point where I was just like, I kind of wanted the requirement for you to have worked at a care home.
Yep.
But then that's tight, right?
Yep.
Because that's a tough one. But you will see that a lot, where if there's someone who's been working 10, 15 years, she's definitely probably had worked at a care home, he or she.
Yeah.
Or if not, they can pick up. They have the skill sets to adapt.
Right.
So it gets really tricky where, okay, if you haven't worked in a care home, are you comfortable with being in the kitchen sometimes? Are you comfortable with med pass? Because being at a big facility, you may not have passed meds because they use med techs.
Yep.
So then I have to get really in depth with, like, what's your capability? Are you comfortable passing meds? Is that something that you would feel comfortable? And we use a computer system, a company that I found at the convention.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we use SyncWise. So I'm like, are you capable of using the laptop, jumping in, and it's user friendly, but not everyone loves computers, so you run into that. So I really have learned to ask the right questions in the interview.
Yep.
And not only just take the answers, throw them in. That's why I do the working interviews. I want to see how you are in the setting.
Yes, working interviews are so great. I know we suggest that at the 3-day training, because it's like, you don't know what this person is really going to be like. If they're brand new and they come in and they do a working interview and they're like, oh, I've got to wipe bums, or I've got to do this. And now they're freaked out and they're like, this isn't for me. Or even the opposite, like you're saying, like it could just be simple things like this is the job duties, and they're just not familiar with that because they're coming from a different realm. So the working interview, I do think, so helps weed them out and really see how do they vibe. I know you talked about that vibe with the other, staff, vibe with the family. It's so important. If it's not a culture fit within the home, you can't have them. You've gotta let them go.
Yep.
I love that.
It's been a roller coaster ride.
And it is a roller coaster,
I've been
truly.
learning a lot.
I know you mentioned a website that you like to find amazing staff at. Where has been your best resources to find great staff?
I would say, so I kicked it off with like Facebook, and then obviously these are suggestions, right? So obviously you meet a ton of people at your 3 day weekend training, and then also at the conventions, and you take the feedback. So I kicked it off with like Facebook, Craigslist, and then I have ADP for payroll, so I ended up using their system, which is connected to ZipRecruiter, but feeds to like a ton of different sites. And I think Indeed is one of the most popular one. So I found that the Facebook people, potential hires, etc., they played a lot of games.
Oh.
Either they were no shows, yeah, they were no shows, or they were just flaky, like a lot of back and forth on Messenger, and it went nowhere. And then Craigslist, I would say, is a state or city specific type of platform.
Yeah.
It may not work in every city, but I would say in Texas, there's a lot of postings for staff on Craigslist. But then it gets pricey because it's $45 a post. And if I need a caregiver for the day shift, I need a caregiver for the night shift, you got to get creative and put that in one post. But I did use Craigslist for a while. I found my first house manager on Craigslist. She was great. She was actually a house manager at another care home. So that was like, I got really lucky. And then from there, I didn't really get any great candidates from there. So I just stick with like ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and that's kind of where I get most of my candidates, screening the resumes and kind of take it from there.
That's awesome. Those more professional sites. At first, you tried maybe some of the freer or less expensive resources, but then transitioned to, let's go to some professional resources. We need real professionals in this house.
Yeah, and it's linked to my ADP account. It's no additional charge. So I'm like, listen, I'm going with free and quality. Like I've gotten, I think, a ton of my staff from, just Indeed or even phone calls. I have people now who just randomly called because they saw, like, they Googled facilities in the area.
Yeah.
And then also reading, like, about me and things like that. A lot of people gravitated towards, okay, Black woman-owned business, not like a big, huge facility where it's just, you don't even know the owner.
Yeah.
So people gravitate towards that as well. So for me, that was like the best way to go. I saw like the most quality candidates from there. I would also say agency. Agency will come in and say, can I have an application? You're not supposed to poach them, but I mean, they ask for applications, I give them, and then what happens, happens.
I love that. I think that what you just said, such a major, key right there, which was you have posted about yourself as the owner, saying, this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. This is my story of how I got in. And that has attracted people. Sometimes people want to get into this and make it a nameless, faceless, just business with a logo. And I'm like, that's a big mistake. Let them fall in love with you as the owner. Let them become committed to you as the person who's running this. Let them see your face. Let them know you so that they do want to work for you. They do show up every day because they believe in more than just, oh, I'm helping seniors. They believe in you and what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, it definitely being personable and having a story, whether you've been through it where they are, your mom or father was a hospice patient, and your story is what connects you to the residents, families. So with me, it also connects me to the staff, right? Because they respect that, okay, like, you've gone through a lot and then you were able to do this. So it's empowering for the staff and then also for the residents. They're like, okay, she's actually connected with what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with this now with my dad. So my dad is in rehab. I'm trying to find him somewhere else, like a nursing home or some long-term care facility. So I'm like actively dealing with the same things some of my residents' family members are dealing with.
Yeah, it's true. It's when you have that experience, it just makes you so much more of a person. And now they trust you and they want to leave their loved one in your care. I want to ask one more thing about the staff that you're bringing in. I know that they have to be licensed before they come to you, but in your home, do you do any additional training where you say, in this home, this is what we do. I don't care what the state told you. This is what we're doing. Any insight on that?
Yeah, so I hire caregivers and CNAs, and I will say some of them would already have taken, the caregiver course at another facility, and maybe if they work somewhere else within the year, they are already taken the courses. But you're still required, like for me, I have the caregiver training and then I have the dementia training because we're memory care certified Alzheimer's facility. So I just ensure that it's within a year based on the Texas state requirements. You have caregiver training completed within a year. If you have a certificate from a previous place, I take that. But then if not, you have to complete the training that I have, which is just online caregiver training, and then the dementia courses included. But in addition to that, because we're passing medication, I'm delegated by a nursing consultant, so they're basically passing medication under her license, so they have to do the training that she provides as well.
I love that. I think that so many people make that mistake of saying, they're coming to me knowing everything. No, they're not. Like, you have to go above and beyond.
They know the facility they worked at,
right?
but not this facility.
Exactly. And things are done differently everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, what you're expecting of them may be different than what the care home, down the road is expecting of them. So I think it's so important to, for our listeners to hear that there is additional training you're going to want to do in your home based on what you offer. So memory care, passing meds, those things, but also the culture and the tone that you want to set in the home and your kind of core values of what you bring to the market.
Yes, definitely. Like initially I was doing going over the tasks that we have, etc., and just making sure everybody knew like what they needed to do. Obviously the caregiver training was still a part of that. I thought I turned this down. The caregiver training was still a part of that, but now I use Care Academy, and so we get that. I use that system for all the caregiver training, the dementia training, etc. And then like I said, the med delegation, that's something that's like you basically do the training online, and then the nurse comes into the house and then she does a return demonstration to test you, and then we do annual training on that. So, you have to do your continuous training. So we do annual training. But for me, I feel like my house, some things are done differently. So I just do we have to do like a full 2 day. So once you're hired and you have all those certificates done, there's a 2 12-hour shift training with another staff member.
I love that. Just the above and beyond. It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, you have been a rock star since day one. I know you came to the class in the summer in July and you opened your first home in November. You've been successfully running the business for now, what, almost a year, 2 years?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years. Mm-hmm. You've been a rock star from day one. I mean it when I say that. And I know that this has been a labor of love for you because of your father and, his need for this and how it ties so close to home. What has been the most rewarding thing for you about being in the RAL business?
For me, so it's funny because I kicked it off because of my dad, right? My dad is in Connecticut. I moved to LA, then I moved to Dallas, and it was like, okay, this is not going to work. He's just too far. And this business was like, oh, wow, I could move him in. He can be close to me. I haven't lived in the same state with him for over 20 years. But then my first resident was a hospice resident. And my mom was on hospice. She had cancer. My brother died from cancer. And I lost my brother, my grandmother, and my mother in a 3-year span back to back, one each year.
Oh,
so when I had my hospice resident, I was just like, when I was doing the renovation and I had my first resident and I realized, and I'm dealing with families, and I'm like, this is like bigger than my father. This is my purpose. This is like where God was directing me to go, because I'm telling you, like you said, I did the training in July. I opened in November. Like everything was moving so quick. It was just like meant to be.
Yeah.
It was just too easy. I'm like, okay, this is definitely God putting me where he thinks I belong based on what I just went through for, it started 2015, I lost my brother, to 2017, lost my mom. So it's like after the sunshine after this storm, and putting you in a position where you can use what you actually went through.
Mm-hmm.
You can use what you went through to actually overcome and help others. So that's what I've been doing. I have people come, they lose their mom, pass away in the home, and I'm there. I'm like giving them hugs. I understand. I've been there. So for me, it ended up, I didn't realize at first, but as I got into the business, I was just like, okay, this is just more than what I thought.
Yeah. It truly is, because it's family. Like, you're loving on them and caring for them like they're your own family, and you understand what the family members are going through, and you're just able to be there for them in a way that the big boxes, you're just a number there. You're not a family member, you're not a loved one, you're a number. And as soon as you pass, it's like, pick up the stuff, get them out, because we got to get another one in. With us, it's like, we get it. Like, we know what this feels like. So I love that, and I'm sorry for all of your losses, but it is a beautiful, like, full circle moment where it's like, now you get to be there. Your experience is now helping you connect with, the residents and the family in your home even more. And, there always is that sunshine in the rainstorm. So I love that you can see that.
Yeah, and you lost your dad, and he left this great thing for you to just continue with. You've been doing a great job.
Thank you. Well, it's been, my pleasure to work with you and students all across the country to be able to do this. And I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I know people want to hear your expertise, and if they want to check out your care home, what is your website? How can they find you?
Serenity Gardens with an S at the end, and seniors with an S at the end.com.
Okay, perfect. We will put it in the show notes, so click the link below so that you can check out Tiffany's amazing home. And thank you so much for being on the show today. Honestly, it's just wonderful to hear you and all of your staffing expertise. I know you're more hands-on, but sometimes you gotta be to get that right setup tone. And, now baby girl's on the way, so maybe you'll be more and more hands-off as you transition into this new phase.
I can't wait for my break.
Good. Well, you deserve it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.